Hello and welcome! Today I'm in the new Tier 7 Japanese aircraft carrier, the Kaga, and I'm using these modules and commander skills. So I was thinking about what kind of a video to make for today, and I figured that you guys would like to see the Kaga anyway, so I decided to make a video about the first match I had in the Kaga. So this is not a preview, it's simply the first match that I played in this ship. The only thing I tried before this match was I took the Kaga into a training room, because I heard that her torpedo drop pattern is slightly different, so I wanted to try that one out. I will make a preview later on, and at the end of the video I will show the stats of the ship right now, but you have to remember that this is still a work in progress. So I am against a Saipan, and it's an air superiority Saipan. However, the good thing is that she doesn't have air supremacy, so I still have somewhat of a chance. Now the reason why the Kaga is not a very good ship against the Saipan is because the Saipan has tier 9 planes while the Kaga has tier 6 ones. However, the Kaga does have 85 planes in the hangar, which means that she has a lot more planes. However, look at my dive bombers. I have 7 dive bombers in a squadron, and I have 7 dive bombers in the hangar, which means that if I lose my dive bombers once, I can only recharge them once. So the enemy Saipan, for some reason, flew her fighters into my ship's anti-air and decided to seemingly try to fight here. So I will try to catch the fighters with some strafes. Hopefully it will work out. Okay, this seemed like it went okay, but it caught my own fighters in the strafe. However, considering that I took out 5 of the fighters and friendly anti-air took another one, I think that went rather well. And considering that I am still I am somewhat of a strike layout. I have 2 squadrons of torpedo bombers. I think that trade with an air superiority Saipan was pretty good. Also, I just lost half my HP to something seemingly random. And I will try to drop on this Akatsuki. So the Kaga has a bunch of peculiarities. For the torpedo bombers, the torpedoes are 53 knots, which means they are really fast. However, they have a really odd drop pattern. You'll see in a moment. Basically, the 6 torpedoes drop in 2 waves. The first wave is 3 torpedoes that are really wide, and the second wave is 3 torpedoes that are tightly together. And because torpedo arming depends on time rather than distance, it means that you will have to drop a lot further away with the Kaga than you're used to. In this case, I got lucky. I hit 2 torpedoes and they did 8,400 damage, so the destroyer was already damaged, but it still managed to help me finish her off. Now, because this is a test ship, I don't get any medals, etc., so that should have been a devastating strike. Now, another peculiarity with the Kaga is look at the drop circle size of the dive bomber. It's really small. However, you have to remember that the bombs don't deal all that much damage, but look at how close I was. I was so close with those drops, yet I still missed. It'll be very difficult to drop with the Kaga, and when I say difficult, I don't mean that you will have to be really good at it. At least against destroyers. I think that it'll be a lot up to what the destroyer does, because a destroyer tends to have a rudder shift that is faster than the amount of time that passes when your dive bombers lock in the drop and actually drop. So it's not really up to you whether those dive bombers hit. Now, in this kind of a situation that we just had where the DD didn't actually try to dodge, that yes. If I had aimed better, that would have gone a lot better. However, if the destroyer is actively trying to dodge, it'll be very difficult for anybody to properly drop on her. So I don't think destroyers need to worry that much. Now you could do automatic drops, which are also pretty accurate, but you have to remember that the dive bomber damage output on the Kaga is half of what it is normally on Japanese carriers, so you would have to drop double the amount of bombs to deal the same amount of damage. So this is one of the reasons why I think that 2-2-1 loadout is better. You see, there are 2 loadouts, 1-1-3, that is 1 fighter, 1 torpedo bomber, and 3 dive bomber squadrons, or 2-2-1, so 2 fighter squadrons, 2 torpedo bomber squadrons, and 1 dive bomber squadron. And I think the 2-2-1 is superior because the dive bomber damage output is simply too little. I think 2 torpedo bomber squadrons will definitely deal more damage. Okay, so I would like to go towards the eastern side of the map with my ship. However, I'm afraid that somebody might shoot me again. You see, the first salvo that I took out half my HP. So if I took another one like that, I would die or almost die. So my fighters got caught by the Saipan's fighters. Now the bad thing is that obviously, you know, I just lost planes. I tried to strafe out, and I tried to strafe again the fighters, and actually caught the strafe. However, it didn't really go so well. I'll try again with these strafes. Oh, and this is another reason why I think 2-2-1 is so good. Because you kinda need to have 2 fighter squadrons nowadays. Because if you only have 1 squadron, the enemy can strafe out and strafe your fighters and you can't do anything about it. I think you at least need 2 fighter squadrons nowadays, so 1-1-3 is not a good option. Okay, so I'm gonna try dropping with my torpedo bombers. I'll drop both at the same time. Remember, these are tier 6 torpedo bomber squadrons, so anti-air can be pretty deadly against them. Especially since this is a tier 8 match. However, a New Mexico is a pretty good target, especially since the ship next to the New Mexico is a Haruna, which obviously doesn't have that strong anti-air either, and she is almost dying. Okay, so remember, you have to drop a lot further away than you're used to with these. And the torpedoes are faster though. This New Mexico is not moving, so this should be a very good drop. Okay, yeah, I think she's dead. Goodbye. I mean, that is 9 torpedo hits, so that's quite significant. Now, I'm not gonna say what I think about the balance of the ship right now, because, again, I haven't really run into a situation where I haven't really played the ship enough. However, that was a lot of damage, and honestly, the New Mexico should have tried to actually dodge in some way. However, well, it's still a learning curve. Tier 6 players are quite new to the game. Now, I started running with my dive bombers. I wanted to drop on the North Carolina or the Bismarck with my dive bombers. However, the Saipan seems to be on that side of the map, and I started running with my dive bombers. Now, the enemy is bringing fighters literally over my ships in a direct line, and I'm running away in a direct line. Well, not anymore. I'll try doing so. And the fighters keep coming. I am launching my own fighters to try to intercept, but I'm pretty sure actually that his fighters are gonna catch my dive bombers. Which is going to be unfortunate. I was hoping that this Graf Spee in New Mexico would be a good anti-air platform, but that's not the case. Oh, speaking of anti-air, I think the Kaga itself does not have good anti-air either. So I'm just gonna strafe. Yeah, I know that it's gonna eat my own dive bombers, but I think that's my best option. I could try to lock, but I think dive bombers aren't as important in this game and for the Kaga, because she doesn't have that many of them and they don't deal that much damage. So I'll just throw these 2 away and try to hit the North Carolina. I mean, at least I'll find out a little bit what the North Carolina's in. Okay, one is already gone, and I think the second one isn't gonna get too close either. Okay, and well, there she goes, and that's half of my dive bombers in the entire match already gone. So you could technically be out of dive bombers in like 6 minutes or something on the Kaga, which is a bit sad. But I guess that is the cost you'll have to pay. Now, since I have my fighters up and I want to find the target to torpedo bomber, I guess I'll go to the northern area, because the Saipan did lose one of the fighter squadrons, so perhaps she isn't as willing to engage me, at least not directly. And I should be at least able to stave off his fighters to do my torpedo bomber drop. Remember, again, I am against an air superiority Saipan, so if I can deal my damage and not essentially lose all of my planes, I'm in a good position, because she doesn't have as much damage output because she only has 1 dive bomber squadron. Now, it does deal a lot of damage, but it's still not that great. So I wanted to strafe this squadron down and catch it outright, and catch it out being alone. However, I actually made a huge mistake, because if you notice where this squadron is, like, you don't see it right now on the screen, but if you look at the minimap, this fighter squadron fight is inside the anti-air of that North Carolina, so my fighters are going to get absolutely destroyed in this. And unfortunately, I didn't realize that until now, and at this point it's already too late, because I've pretty much thrown both of them away. Now this might actually mean that my torpedo bombers might not be able to drop properly on the Bismarck, but I'll try it anyway. You see, I still have like 29 torpedo bombers left, so I can throw some of them away to try to do a drop. I mean, there is still 9 minutes left, but 29 planes, that's like more than 2 full recharges. And this Bismarck is showing a nice broadside. In testing I did try. If you manage to get hits properly on a Bismarck, that is a lot of damage. It can almost outright delete one, or maybe even can. I'm not quite certain on that one. But you know, you would have to hit all of them. But in this case, the Bismarck was not completely full HP. And I hit 7 of those torpedoes for quite a lot of damage. I mean, some of them were shot down by the anti-air because, again, they are tier 6 planes, and others simply didn't hit. But I still did a lot of damage, and hopefully this Bismarck will die out. If not, I will try to bring my dive bombers around to try to set her on fire once the Saipan fighters leave, because she doesn't have damage control party, I think. Also notice that I have 18 torpedo hits, 3 floodings, so I'm not quite sure how much rate I will like this ship, considering how difficult it will be how difficult it seems to be to actually get floodings with this ship. I do have both the flooding flags, so it's actually really surprising that I've got so few floodings so far. Okay, so actually we're in a really bad position. We have 3 ships, right? They have 4. But that's not really the main problem. Okay, hopefully the dive bomber will be able to drop here nicely. I wonder what the size of the drop circle is. Okay, the size of the drop circle, if panicked, is pretty big. But I got 2 fires and I think those will be enough to finish off the Bismarck. Now, we are actually in a bit of trouble because we have 2 DDs, 1 carrier, they have 2 battleships, 1 cruiser, and a carrier. Well, one battleship is gone. But the problem is that their North Carolina is inside our cap zone, and I am the only ship able to decap her. And they still have a Saipan, so imagine if that anti-air, that seems to be an anti-air North Carolina, that Saipan goes and tries to defend the North Carolina with her planes. It'll be very, very difficult, so I will want to try to engage enemy fighters here as much as I can. And actually it seems that he doesn't have a full complement of fighters anymore, which is very beneficial for me. Hopefully the Akatsuki will be able to pick off the Saipan then. I am going to give the Akatsuki air cover, and if the Akatsuki wants to use smokescreen, well, she can just fire at the Saipan. And now I'll do a drop on the North Carolina. Apparently the North Carolina has already lost some anti-air, so it shouldn't be full power, but again, these are tier 6 planes, so that might not go so well for me. I mean, I've already lost, like, what is that, 3? And the North Carolina doesn't even seem to be focusing my torpedo bombers with the clicking, because both squadrons are losing planes, which is something you should do. If you see planes incoming, click on them. Okay, so I hit 5 torpedoes. By the way, if you noticed, this is because we are getting a different drop pattern now. There is an interesting question now. How do you lose planes? You see, when you have a torpedo bomber squadron, like the drop pattern, where do you lose the planes first? Because right now what happened is that the planes that got shot down were the torpedoes in the back line of the drop. And this could actually be a pretty big deal, because if you can shoot down half the torpedo bomber squadron, only the 3 frontal torpedoes that are really wide would be able to hit the target. Which means that is only if it works this way. Because if it is just random and I got unlucky, then obviously it doesn't make a difference. Okay, so the Akatsuki was able to take out the Saipan. This is very good. Now I will simply keep 1 fighter squadron here to keep spotting the Dukadosta for the Akatsuki, and the other fighter squadron I will bring to the North Carolina, because she might have like a float plane around, so I want my fighter squadron to lock it while I do the follow-up drop. Now, I am happy to say that you are able to recharge your torpedo bomber planes if before the North Carolina finishes capping. I wasn't actually quite sure that was possible, because I don't remember when I was in such a situation the last time, and I think I will be able to interrupt the North Carolina. Now it is actually getting it cutting it quite close. Like, she will be able to get to a good 1/3, sorry, only 3/4 of capping done. However, because she only has 12,000 health, I mean, even if I hit just one torpedo, I will be happy with it because it stops her from capping. And, you know, I still have 15 torpedo bombers left over, so I shouldn't really be worried about this. And again, because the North Carolina does not appear to actually focus fire with her planes, having this fighter here is a good idea. But maybe she is actually focus firing now, because I haven't lost any fighters. Okay, well, at least one torpedo hit, so this second one isn't as important. But if it hits, it should at least be able to take her out. Okay, so I got my 4th flooding too, by the way. Okay, good. The North Carolina is gone now. And at this point we should win the game, because all we need to do to win right now is the timer needs to run out. Even if the Akatsuki dies, we should still be able to win, because an Akatsuki should not be worth 100 points. And, you know, what are the chances that this Dukadosta is able to survive the next torpedo bomber strike anyway? I think that's very low. And maybe it doesn't even get that far, because the Akatsuki might just be able to finish her off herself. But yeah, I would say this, the Kaga is probably going to be pretty weak versus like an anti-air North Carolina. However, against ships that don't have as great anti-air, she will be very, very strong with the torpedo bombers. And actually, one thing I'm a bit afraid of is the carrier sniping with her, because 12 torpedo bombers will deal a lot of damage, and since tier 7 carriers don't have defensive fire, that might end up being a bit of a problem. But we'll actually see it once I play her more. Because, you know, if you think about it, an air superiority Saipan probably should be dominating me pretty hard, or at least denying me at every turn. In this case, that's not what happened, because apparently you see the Saipan player. He said that he is a new player with the Saipan and carriers, and since he didn't even have air superiority, sorry, air supremacy, well, you can imagine that this wasn't exactly a fair fight with carriers versus carriers. By the way, the Dukadosta is actually a pretty cool cruiser as well. However, she is tier 6, so she will match into tier 8 games quite often like this one, and because of that, I don't think the Dukadosta is gonna have a great time all the time. She is really fast though, which is incredible. Okay, so I guess I'll try doing like a cross drop in case doesn't work out properly. Because she only has 9,600 health, and I don't know, 2 torpedoes should be enough to kill her. And maybe I can even time the cross drop with the Akatsuki torpedoes. Although, to be honest, I would like to be able to get the drop myself instead of the Akatsuki. I wonder if the Dukadosta... Oh yeah, the Dukadosta has Hydro and defensive fire both, so... Yep, there is a defensive fire. I wanted to pull back, but since this is my first game, I might as well try to see what the pattern looks like under defensive fire. So we'll see what it looks like right now. Okay, yeah, this pattern is going to be really difficult to drop with into defensive fire. Man, that spread is insane. Jesus. Okay, so I'll wait with my second torpedo bomber squadron to wait until the defensive fire runs out, and then just drop on her, because she doesn't really have much options after that anymore. I mean, I think maybe even one torpedo might be good enough at this stage. Although the timer is running out, so I can't really do these weird maneuvers for a very long time. Okay, let's see how this drop works out. Remember, the torpedoes are super fast, 53 knots. Well, super fast for a carrier torpedoes anyway. Oh yeah, these would have hit quite many torpedoes. And there's the game. So again, this was my first Kaga match, and it went really well. 152,000 damage, 28 torpedo hits, 25 plane shot down, but only 5 bomb hits. But think about this, 28 torpedo hits and 6 floodings only. Oh yeah, and I even got the Kraken Unleashed, but because it's a test account, we don't get any medals. And 2,100 experience in a carrier, in a tier 7 carrier. That is incredible. I guess it is the premium carrier economy. And as you can see, almost all of the damage is purely from the torpedo hits. And there's 450,000 credits. Let's look at the stats. You have 2 loadouts, 113 and 221. I recommend 221. I think 2 torpedo bombers deal more damage, and having 2 fighters nowadays is pretty much necessary considering you can strafe out of fighter lock. 85 planes in the hangar and 51,000 health, which is pretty good, but all the planes are tier 6. 1525 health on the fighters, 1271 on torpedo bombers and dive bombers. Torpedoes deal the normal damage, but they are a lot faster, 53 knots. Dive bombers deal only 2600 damage, so that's quite a problem, and this is why I don't recommend 113. Now, one thing that is actually pretty poor in the ship is anti-air. 67 AA damage at 5 kilometers, 22 at another 5 kilometers, and 77 at 3.1, and that's it. So you are actually going to have a lot of trouble with planes if they actually decide to attack you. Now, there's also 24% torpedo belt, which is pretty nice considering most carriers don't have essentially anything. Their maneuverability is awful as usual for carriers, and your armor layout is also pretty weak. And I'd like to show you guys one extra thing on the armor layout. So you saw the armor is weak, right? Let's check out the size of the ship. This is the Kaga, and let's jump to the Ryujo now. This is the Ryujo. This is the Kaga. Jesus Christ, this ship is massive. It's absolutely ginormous. Let's compare it to like the Nagato. Okay, so check out this is the deck level, right here. And this is the Nagato. Like the upper deck level on the Kaga is like this high. Almost as high as the smokestack of the Nagato. The Kaga is huge. Anyways, if you guys enjoyed this video, then like it, and I would like to thank the patrons on Patreon. Thank you very much for your support, James, Yorezar, and Ian, and I hope I see you guys next time.